Welcome back to our third episode of Young Bosses podcast, Living Life Like You Own It. My name is Sonia and I'm your host this afternoon, and I'm here with our lovely guest. If you could tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hello, first off, thank you for having me. My name is Inayat, and I'm a marketer by day, and once I finish my job, I'm a social entrepreneur. And what I do is connect students, young professionals, and with government leaders and corporate leaders for various reasons, finding jobs, mentorship, networking, and also knowing what's happening around the world. We just actually finished our conference yesterday, and we're planning to expand into 3 countries now.
Wow, that's so cool. How many people do you service, if that's the right word?
Currently, we have serviced around the world 25,000 students.
Wow.
Where they have been reached with the message. So we invite speakers from all over the world, North America mostly, for people from Forbes, other amazing companies to come and not only mentor students, but also talk to students. And we don't have conference where typically where a speaker speaks for one hour or so and people get bored. We technically have this concept of experiential learning within the conference and making it more engaging. So it's basically a conversation going on throughout the conference.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, so fun. How often do those conferences take place?
It really depends. So we stopped for about 2 years. And happened. The conference which happened yesterday was after 2 years. It was the third conference, and the first 2 conferences happened within the time span of 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And now we're going to Pakistan, we're going to Dubai, and we're going to France with this.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Awesome.
We want to make sure it happens regularly, at least once a quarter in any part of the world. But it's challenging doing a conference. You have to have a lot of gain trust of a lot of stakeholders within sponsors, exhibitors, attendees, and also know what's going on in that aspect in that part of the world, and then tailor your conference towards that.
Cool. What drew you to this line of work?
Wow. So I was born and raised in Dubai, originally from Pakistan. I came to Canada about 4 years ago, and it sounds cliche, but coming to Canada basically changed my life. And to this date, I've been finding how and why. But it just gave me a sense of learning, being a lifelong learner, and also giving back to the community. So how it started was basically in 2016, I came to Canada as at this point of time, I've done my bachelor's. I came here for postgrad. And when I was in school, I just went to career education, and I was all motivated that I want to study and do something impactful. I'm not a bright student. I never was a bright student. And this question might come up, but and we'll speak more about this. I'm not a bright student, and it's not a good thing to say because I'm a business instructor as well. So I teach first year, second year bachelor's students as well.
Wow.
But I feel that what I asked myself was, what can I do? Because when my parents were dropping me off at the Dubai International Airport, that was I think the first time I saw tears in my dad's eyes.
Really?
And when I was coming here, I just told myself that there's a word in Urdu called nikamma. So I used to say that to myself, and I was like, I don't have to be nikamma right now. I have to do something for my parents. And I think that's what keeps me going on right now as well. I knew I'm not a bright student. Back then, I was like, okay, let's do something else. And I was very lucky enough to have my mentors, which I made in a completely entire new country, probably 5,000 miles away from my home. The people supported me a lot. And by the time I was graduating, I said, I have to give back to my community. So that's how it started off.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's cool. What do you do to live life like you own it?
Wow. Staying curious and being lifelong learners. And how I do that is also through this conference. This conference is like my baby. It's how I live it is just thinking beyond of what's going to happen next. So my initial goal was just to do a graduate of Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops, staying there. My options was just to stay there and write. The first conference was where I did that conference, and it was just a student project. And what kept me going on was the smiles, and the students were getting jobs. Students were getting students sitting in Kamloops in a small town, collaborating with someone in the Bay Area with Forbes 30 and the 30. And all these students, after that first conference, they came to me, the vice chancellor, the media, everyone came to me, and they were sharing their impact, what happened after the first conference. So that's what keeps me going on through this. Organizing conference is not easy, and that's why it took me about 2 years to do the last conference. But being persistent, having faith in yourself, and making that community is so important. And I've learned that have one step at a time would help.
Of course. Cool. Cool. Awesome. Let's have some fun. What is your favorite food?
I'm still very desi. So if I go back to that memories, I would say nothing can replace biryani. Yeah. So I'm still like anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7 days a week, I can eat it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Fun.
Yeah.
Cool. What is your favorite drink?
Surprisingly, I don't drink anything other than mango juice and recently found kombucha, which I'm liking it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do those two things.
Cool. Why
Yeah.
mango juice?
I love mangoes.
Oh.
Pakistan is really famous for mangoes. So
cool.
I was really exposed to mangoes since I was small. So yeah, I love it.
I love mango juice. I like the thick ones.
The thick ones?
Yeah,
Yes.
like thick mango juice.
Yeah.
Oh, like a smoothie. It's so
yeah,
good.
you bet. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
What's your favorite kombucha?
As I said, I was recently exposed to it. I just had twice and I loved it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Fun.
not something very picky on that drink. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Who's your favorite actor or actress?
From any part of the world.
Yeah.
If we talk about North America, Dwayne Johnson, and
Yeah.
his movies are amazing, and not only his movies, but his life struggle and what he does for his. I was just reading about how family oriented he is. His struggles from Alberta to now all over the world was just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah,
he's so
amazing.
funny and
Yeah.
he's so cute. Have you seen his relationship with Kevin Hart?
I have not. No,
Oh,
I
they're
have not.
so funny. They are adorable together. Check
Wow.
them out. You'd
I
love
bet.
it.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
super cute. What is your favorite movie?
Okay, I might sound like a very boring person. I don't watch a lot of movies. I replace that with documentaries.
Cool.
And especially in this question, I would love to talk about Before the Flood by Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, that thing just opened my eyes. I think it's a 90-minute documentary, and it's all about he's a climate change advocate, right? And about the facts. He was in Canada shooting that as well. That documentary really made me think about what's going on around the world, and also how that aspects can be brought into my conference, because I do huge conferences about future of work, entrepreneurship, and things like that. And so why not have an aspect of climate change as well?
Beautiful. Do you have a favorite sport?
Oh, all time cricket. I love
Really?
cricket. Yes, I was actually. There's a funny story. So, I as I said, I was a Nikama student. So, when I did my bachelor's from Dubai in UK, and when I came back home, so I have a very cultural family who believe if you are a lawyer, either you're a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or the fourth one is failure. My sister is a doctor, my brother is an engineer, and I went into the business aspect of it. So one day I come home and everyone is sitting there, and they're like, Inayat, what's next? And I was working into events in Dubai, hiring at a very young age. At about 16, I was hiring hundreds and hundreds of models, hostesses for events, and throwing these huge events. So I was earning good at at 16. And my dad was like, no, you have to go because, and many reasons for Dubai. It's not a democratic country. I love Dubai, but that scenarios. So eventually he said, you're going to Canada or Australia, you have to pick one. They're very supportive, but now that I think of, they made the best decision for me. So I decided Canada, and at that point of time, I wanted to be a cricketer. So I was playing with Australia under 19, Pakistan under 19. I was actually selected for 2014 World Cup as well, for 30 squad members, and then unfortunately couldn't make it the top 15. So cricket for life.
Wow,
Yes.
that's so fun. Cute, awesome. Okay, so when did you figure out that this is what you're meant to be doing?
Wow. I can go for long. I think it was in 2015 when I was new to Canada. I didn't know anything, the cultural shock, the weather shock, everything. I was missing my family, and I loved networking. I met new people, and one good thing which I did was I didn't only network with people in Kamloops, but all over the world through LinkedIn. So I'm a huge advocate of LinkedIn. Even yesterday, we called someone from California just to speak about LinkedIn. So I connected with people around the world, and had an amazing experience, the great piece of advice. And not only I used to get the advice, but make sure that I'm implementing that and getting back to them after 3 months and saying how your advice impacted me. So I had those close relationship with my mentors. I think after the first conference, it kept me going. I was very, very active in my student life, vice president of many clubs, and then won the elections for the Students' Union. That's when I realized by doing, other than attending only classes, you have to come out of the classrooms and you can do a lot of things. So went into the annual general meeting of British Columbia Federation of Students. So many active things were going on, and that's when I realized I was literally going around the world for conferences. I was getting reimbursed. So I said, okay, $2,000, $3,000. If I was not sponsored by students' unions, the dean's office, or anything else, it would be really hard for me to pay these huge bills. And so I said, okay, when I was in my last semester, I remember I thought of the first conference, and right after that conference, I was flying to someone else's conference. So in 25 days, I pulled a conference, huge, 330 people. The house was full. And I was not even expecting 100 people, to be honest, but 330 showed up. And that's the beautiful aspect of living in a small town, because it's an amazing community. So I was about to graduate. The first conference was really nice, and the feedbacks, that kept me going. And even it took me 2 years to do a conference. It was really, really hard for my mental health as well, to work so much, working a full-time job and then doing some other stuff and then doing a conference working for that conference every day. I think the feedbacks really keeps me going. There were so many amazing people, from ministers, so entrepreneurs who came yesterday, and they're like, we want you to do this, and we'll be happy to support you in any way. So I think that's something which keeps me going.
Cool. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks. What is a lesson that you've learned from an obstacle that you overcame or are overcoming?
Wow. Obstacle. I've learned a lot of lessons, as I'm very curious and I'm a lifetime learner. So I learn from literally everyone. I have about 100 plus mentors. One of the things I learned through this, being an entrepreneur exposes you to a lot of scenarios. Listening to your mentors, and I guess it's more of how you portray those advices into your own situation, and just believing in myself and the advice of others. Just making sure the lesson there was having a right balance. So if someone, for example, your mentors are giving advice, at the end, you're your own decision maker. So you don't have to and my mentors were really nice to say me that this is the advice, but you have to make a decision. It's not us who's gonna make decisions for us. So it's always trusting your gut feelings and believing in yourself. Was a big lesson for me.
Beautiful.
Still going on.
Yeah, it's very important.
Of course.
Yeah. Tell me a little about, so you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then you do all of these amazing things on the side.
Yes.
How do you manage your self-care?
I know this was coming on, so it's really hard. I up until yesterday, I guess, I was not. No, I'm kidding. Up until last year, I was not really focusing a lot on my self-care. I'm alone here. My family is back home. So for me, it took me almost 4 years to realize that self-care is important until last year when I had to fly back in emergency when my brother got sick. My mom called and she's like, your brother's diagnosed with cancer. And that's when I was very shocked. And he was my younger brother.
Wow.
He's fine now.
Good.
He's well.
Glad to
but
hear.
at that point of time, I think it made me realize when I went back home, I saw my brother, and it was very different for me to see him not well. So that's when I realized I have to, step up the game for myself and for everyone around. Doing conferences, every time I'm thinking, and that's the constant challenge with myself. I'm always thinking about others and not myself. I think it's very important to think about yourself, because if you are strong, you can uplift others. It's like if someone can swim and he jumped into the swimming pool and you cannot swim either, you shouldn't go in there because it's a trouble. So that's something which I'm learning to say no to others when I'm not well myself.
Good.
Or I'm not at a position where I can help. So if 100 people would say, Inayat, can you do this? I would say, yes, I can. And then that was something where I was not taking care of myself. Yeah.
Totally fair. Yeah. I'm the same kind of person, just always thinking about others, always saying, yes, I can do that. I can take on those. And then I get so burnt out. And I've learned that lesson many times to I need to say no. And it's not in offense to that person. And it's not that I don't want to help. It's that I can't do everything else that I'm doing if I take on all of these other things,
100%. And I was never like this in Dubai.
Yeah.
I was like me, right? And when I came here, that's why I said I couldn't figure out what, maybe it's the weather of Canada, it's the people, I don't know. But that's, in this last 4 years, it was all about others.
Wow.
It still is, but I think it's right balance, which I'm working on right now.
Good. I love that the weather has changed you from being a you person to an others person.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Just one more on the topic of self-care. Do you do anything movement-wise, or do you have a specific meal plan or anything like that you live by to help you through all of this?
I do. I left my gymming for about 2 years and then started off again when I was really, really stressed because of the conference. It can be really overwhelming in about December, New Year, and that's starting December, and that's when I realized I have to go to gym when it's just under my building. So I went about, I'm still going about 5 times a week.
Good.
And the meals, I try to have 3 meals a day. Try to be on time. So my routine is pretty much very fixed. I wake up early morning at 5 o'clock. I am in my office about 6:30, and I have my breakfast in my office after making few reports. And
Cool. Beautiful. Awesome. So I know you mentioned you have a lot of mentors, like 100 plus. So I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question at all, but who was your biggest inspiration or mentor as you began this experience of the conferences that you do?
There are many mentors, you're right. But I think it happened after the first conference, actually. When I did the first conference, the Vice Chancellor, who's now the chairman of BC Innovate, he came to me and he's like, Inayat, how much did it cost doing this conference to the school? And I said, $0. And he said, how? You have speakers from all over the world. How did it cost $0? So anyways, I'm not going to go into the business plan, but he was really impressed and he said, Inayat, you have to do another conference. And I'm like, I'm graduating next month. I am an international student. I have to find a job and probably I have to move to Vancouver. And but I had huge respect for him. He was supporting me throughout those 2 years when I was in university. Mm-hmm. I decided to go back and forth. As I said, I couldn't say no to people. So I said yes to him, and then I had to do it. And I was in transition from Kamloops to Vancouver, finding job, which is itself a full-time job, mm-hmm. and then doing a conference somewhere 4 hours away. Mm-hmm. So anyways, it was very hard, but I think that was something when he told me of how much of an impact it was not for only the students, but for one of the speakers which got his attention, mm-hmm. Looking at the sports in the school. So that was my motivation. Second thing is, I think not mentors, but students and young professionals who benefited from the first conference was my motivation.
Cool. So that feedback that you got about how amazing it was, mm-hmm. and all of their experiences is what drove you to continue.
Absolutely. I couldn't even imagine just doing a conference would help so many students. And one of the reasons this is not, not to sound biased, but this is not a conference like others. It's a conference where I call speakers from all over the world, and the basic aspect of this conference was affordability to students. Students cannot afford $1,000, $2,000, but they can afford maybe $50 for the conference where I'm calling speakers from all around the world. So that is a challenging space for me, where I have to manage all the logistical aspects of it, yet to keep the tickets at a lower than cost price and make it subsidized through other things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So with these conferences, is that all you? Like, are you planning everything, or do you have some people that you reach out to help you reach out to all of these speakers and help organize stuff, or is that all on your shoulders?
So about speakers relations is about 90% on my shoulders, because I have an amazing network, but of course it helps if someone else is coming. So for example, this conference took me 2 years, but about 6 months ago, I just met one person, messaged her on LinkedIn. She's the vice president externals of SFU. And it's all about the right person at the right moment. And so we started. She was like, I don't only want to sponsor this event, but I want to be a part of this event. So right now, as this conference grows, we do have a lot of people coming on, a lot of organizations, nonprofits who are coming in saying, we want to help you in any way we can. So I think it's always not about working hard, but working smart. I was working hard, but maybe not that as smart. So I changed the business model and figured out a way where I can have, because people want to give back to the community. People want to help. You just have to find them and pitch to them the idea, and then being open to suggestions.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fun. Can you tell me a little bit about your full-time job?
Yeah. So in my daytime job, I work into digital marketing. So I work with our accounts in Google, Facebook, Microsoft. I work at an agency who have 23 campuses around the world. So since I have been in Canada, I've been working only in higher education. And that's why before I was in a public institution, now I'm in a private institution managing so I'm the lead for the CRM. And then I also manage an account with all three of a combined of $30 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I, after work on a couple of days, I teach my students, first year, second year bachelor students, marketing, organization, behavior courses. And
cool.
After that, the conference comes in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Where do you teach?
I teach in different private institutions. So I teach in New West, and I've recently taught actually in that building.
No way.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
St. Lawrence Canadian College.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How did you get those opportunities of teaching?
Oh, wow, that's a funny story. So as soon as I got a job at this marketing organization, and the industry is very small. Everyone knows if you get a job at any organization. And as soon as I got here, someone called me up and said, "Do you want to teach? Do you want to work for us?" And I'm like, "Unfortunately," and the person who hired me is my mentor as well. And I said, "Unfortunately, I've given my word. I'm just starting this day. I cannot." And he said, "Your portfolio is more towards marketing. You have all this brand names, ad spend, PPC experience. Do you mind teaching our students?" I'm like, "Wow, I do public speaking. So I speak almost every month at conferences." And I was like, "Wow, okay, I love public speaking. Why not teaching?" By the way, I found out that those two things are very, very different. Public speaking and teaching is very different. I thought it's just going to the classroom. You're Mr. Magnanimous, you go in and you know everything, but it's not the case. You have to have a huge aspect of human psychology in you when you're dealing with students, especially international students. So yeah, I mean, students come to you, and I've learned a lot of things while being an instructor. Students come to me with their a personal problem. As soon as they know that I'm an international student, there was a student recently who came to me and she was crying because she was like, "I just want you to hear it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she was just crying and she was speaking her heart out. And when the students, and this happens to me a lot, they know I was an international student. I was in the same boat. Maybe I still am in the same boat. Missing their families, missing back home, a huge cultural shock, right? So just listening to someone, and to everyone who's listening, sometimes just listening to someone is the best thing you can do.
Yeah. I completely agree. So many people don't fully listen, and they're not fully there with those people. So that's so incredible that you're kind of that role model for these students and that person that they can come to, and you will listen. So that's absolutely beautiful. Being a good listener is a very good skill. It is. Yeah. It is. And it's a tough skill. It is a tough skill. Yes. Yeah. And one of my friends has ADHD, and so she's like always on the go, and she's like always on to the next thing. Yeah. I'm like, how do you listen to anything? Like, I can't imagine having like a challenge like that added on to already like the difficulty of truly listening to someone and truly hearing their perspective and their side and their story. Right. Yeah. You need to have a huge sense of empathy for that. Yeah. To be a good and genuine listener. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Cool. All right, next question. Do you incorporate both your creative and logical sides into your life? I knew this question was coming in. Yeah. I'm an optimist, so that's something I'm working towards, being logical. It's hard for me to be logical when I'm optimist. I mean, but I do try to be creative even with my day job, because my day job involves a lot of analytical reports, working with being an account executive, customer service person, and also looking at a lot of data, because we technically say this in marketing, but data beats opinions. So it's a lot of things which have to you have to think. Sorry, I forgot your question. Creative and logical sides. Yes. So being creative in that aspect is very important. When my day job, I have to make a lot of logical decisions because we see the data. But then in the event side, it helps me, and also with teaching, it helps me to be more creative and do something different rather in for example, classrooms and also in the conference. So I would say having a good balance of both is a skill, but I'm definitely more towards creative. Cool. Being creative, yeah. Beautiful. I love that. I always think about something different. What do you mean? So at a conference we just had yesterday, a comedian just come for 15 minutes and talk about not only his experience but a future of work in a way where everyone was laughing. So having that someone first time in a conference where they would, in between the panels, everything would stop and someone just come up and do the meditation for everyone. So having those creative ideas makes
this. I want everything to break the myths or break the routine of a certain industry and do something different to get the vibes going on.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay. What advice would you give yourself when you first began this adventure?
That's a very good question. As an entrepreneur, it's very, very important for you to decide right off the bat if you want to go in this game as a solopreneur or to have a partner with you. I think at different stage of my life, I really struggled with this. And even now, I'm thinking to have someone as a co-founder. Just listening to someone yesterday, and she was talking about how she has a co-founder, which is an amazing thing to have and works out for her. I think for me, and I would advise all the entrepreneurs, and not only entrepreneurs, but people doing their assignments, professionals doing their projects, to always loop in people if they think it will help, or make a decision if you want to do this by your own or go on your own. And the second piece of thing is always one step at a time. Don't think a lot. Like for me, 2 years ago, I was like, okay, I want to go to Dubai, Pakistan, India, France, and I was not even doing a conference here. But then someone just told me, let's stop this and think deeply of how are we going to do this first in Vancouver. And then we started doing the first conference in Kamloops, second conference in Kamloops, third in Vancouver. And now it makes sense to grow because you have done something in the place you live in. So one step at a time is very important.
Cool. Beautiful. Now, would your answer change if I changed the question to what advice would you give to all the young bosses out there?
Yes. One thing which I want to say is respect everyone. It's really, really important. I mean, living in so many countries, seeing that different culture, one is respecting everyone. And the second thing is believing in your guts. I mean, there's nothing to lose. Even if you're 30, even if you're 20, you've nothing to lose. So go on and do something. And for young professionals who are working at their day job, you're spending 9 hours at your job. You must be happy. You must be happy. No negotiations on that. You're spending 9 hours at work. If you're not happy, you're literally killing yourself without knowing. Financials can be one aspect, but beyond that, there's so many aspects. So when I got my first job, I didn't ask any questions. How from your bosses, right? Ask the questions like, what kind of a boss you are? How is your management style? What happens when someone makes mistakes? How do you tackle those? Things like that. More cultural questions, office culture. Many people only get stuck to the salary-based questions, but I think it's more than that.
Yeah, of course.
Because as much as they are taking your interview, you should take their interview as well. Because you'll be spending 1/3 of your life with them.
True.
It's super important.
That is, yeah. Yeah, I'm that kind of person. I've always wanted to do something, to earn money, doing things that brought me joy. And yes, there's always ebbs and flows. There's always on days and off days. It's just part of the experience, right? And there's frustrations that come up, but like at the end of the day, like it's so important to go home and be like, you know what? No, I am really passionate about what I'm doing, and this is really connecting with me and my soul and my higher existence, right? And trusting that the universe put you on this path for a reason, and listening to your inner self, and that it's just so important, right?
It is important, and it's hard as well. I don't blame anyone. It's hard, but it's just taking your time and doing research about not only the company, but being honest to yourself. What do you need? Do you need money? Yes, everyone needs money. Other than money, what do you need? Do you need a good boss? And so I remember after the first few experiences, I asked my boss a question of how would you describe yourself? And he's described, he said, I'm not micromanaging, and so many other things. And that's when he answered me, he asked me the question, what are you looking from a boss? And I'm like, empathy. because empathy covers pretty much everything, right? So that's one of the best experiences, one of the best employers I think I worked, or one of the best bosses I've worked for. It's very important to have the right communications and making it clear at the very end. It's not only good for your success, but for the company's success. And it builds a huge positive bubble environment for you, because you're spending 8 hours, 9 hours a day there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's so important,
Of course.
to have that system to support you through your work, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that would be my advice for students, young professionals, and yeah.
Cool. Beautiful. So you did mention that your parents said doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure. And I'm just curious if your childhood and your parents affected your choice of career path, or if, say, they didn't have that motto, you would have chosen something completely different.
I would say they never said it, but it's just my cultural thing.
Yeah.
I mean, people in that culture, I mean, everyone, they're PhDs, lawyers, doctors. So I had that social pressure rather than my parents never came and said, you need to be a doctor. They said, do whatever you want, but I knew what they meant was in those three aspects, but they never forced me. So when I took a decision to go into the business, it never demotivated me. And so I had that extra burden to not prove to them, but everyone in my family that, you know, when you go into business as well, you can be happy. The definition of success is what you define it. Success can be with money, with respect, with so many other things, right? So my childhood was very different. It was not bad. It was good, but it was very different from what I am right now. Yeah.
Cool. So what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun?
Yes. So, like, I'm sure you have fun in everything that you do, like your career and all of these things. But I'm just curious because you're so on the go and you get so much done in a day. And I'm just curious.
So for fun, for me, it's fun as having genuine conversations, meet people. I love meeting new people. I love learning their stories. I love learning from their stories. And it's funny, even when I teach students, it's not only me being an instructor, but they teach me every day, literally every day. So for fun, it's every day is a different day. I make sure that every day at work, well, my routine stays the same, but I try to do everything very differently. For me, fun is I try to travel a lot. Is what I consider having fun, and it's really a moment where I feel myself. So I do a lot of traveling. That makes me happy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place that you have been to?
Which I have been to?
Yeah, which you have traveled to.
I think Dubai still remains one of my favorite places.
Of course.
I love London. I've been there. But I still love, like, nothing it feels can replace Dubai. But I know my answer would change if you take my interview, if I go back to Pakistan and visit, because in the next 1 year, I want to go into the northern part of Pakistan, and I've seen it. It's just beautiful. So just by seeing videos, I would say the northern parts of Pakistan.
Cool.
It's really beautiful.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And you said you plan to go back?
Yeah, I've been to Pakistan like 26 times, but I've never stayed there. And so unfortunately, I didn't stay there for more than a month or two. So I didn't go to the northern parts of the world. Recently, I think Prince William came and he had a lot of good words. And after that, I've been following Pakistan tourism a lot, and it's just amazing. The northern, the culture is so rich. The people are so loving in Pakistan. And for me, I'm originally from Pakistan, but I've never stayed there. I see all these amazing stories. My friends visiting Pakistan for a month or so. But hopefully this year, my plan is to go to Pakistan for about a month or two and just see it.
Cool.
Yeah, the
That's
natural
beautiful.
beauty. Yeah.
So you mentioned that your students teach you every single day. What are some lessons that you've learned from them?
A lot about the culture so many things about the culture. So sometimes a student come and tell about their own cultures. I have so many nationalities in my classes. So so as I said, I do a lot of experiential learning, not only on the conference side, but also in the class. So for some cultures, they would never take my name out of respect. Never. They would never call me Inayat. They would always call me sir. Though I've told them to call me, I'm fine to them calling me sir, but it's just the culture aspect, which I'm a bit aware of because I am from that part of the world as well. But every single day, there's something different which is happening in the class, and I'm learning from them. Not only in academic part of the world, but also cultural, religious, about the religion, about certain things to do. So as you have to be very open for that conversation, I think, and you have to make sure the students are very comfortable sharing that with you. So it's just being open for them to speak to you about it is very important.
Cool. How has your family impacted your life?
My family impacted in what aspect? In the sort of social aspect of what I am doing, or as a marketer, as a human being?
Whatever you want to answer.
I think my family is very connected towards each other. They respect each other a lot, and they're very. So, for example, on Fridays, we have this family culture that every day we would have a biryani at our house, right? And we'll have at 2:00, we'll all sit down, we'll talk about each other. How was our week? On Fridays are basically the weekends, when the weekend starts in Dubai. So Friday, we said that. So our having a very close family impacted me a lot, and in a way, in a negative way as well, because I'm away from my family, so I do miss them a lot. I miss those conversations. I do miss every Friday I think about them. Not that only every Friday, but every Friday is when I miss them the most. I would be like, oh wow, this time they'll be sitting together, they'll be talking. I call them then. So definitely my family is very close, very rich and respecting. So for example, no one told us this, but just by observing, there's no way we can sit when our father is standing, or there's no way if my mother is standing, we can sit. We are sitting. So it's just those kind of thing. It's all culture, right? So it's a very rich culture, family which I come from.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool. That's so awesome. I had a question in my head, and it's gone now. And I asked you on my card question, did you have? What is your favorite art form? So we're talking like music, dance, theater, drawings, paintings, poetry, documentaries. I was like, where did that word go?
Yeah.
Documentaries.
Documentaries is definitely one, but I think we've spoken about that before. Other than that, a form of art is, I think, beyond that. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to music. I don't listen to a lot of music, but I do listen to some music. I listen to lyrics a lot, but I'm very curious about learning dance. So, for example, my 2020 goal was to learn dance, to go in a class to learn dance. So, which is I haven't been yet. I haven't been to a dance class yet, but I'm having these conversations with myself that art also should be a big part of myself now.
Cool.
Yeah.
What kind of dance are you interested in?
Because I think it's creative.
Yeah.
It's more creative to be. My friends, they learn violin, guitars, and they go to dance classes, and they say it's how you expose yourself to the world and having that creative thinking. So I've been thinking about it a lot. I watch documentaries a lot, and one of my focus is only I see one thing, and I focus on that a lot. So I have to diversify my portfolio, I would say.
Fair.
Yeah.
What kind of dancing are you interested in?
I've heard about salsa dancing. So,
salsa?
Yeah.
This is so fun.
I'm thinking to enroll in some of the classes for that.
I love it.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, salsa is so fun.
Yeah. I might be funny then.
Yeah.
I'm just scared everyone would be laughing at me.
No.
Right? But it's fun. Yes, I know. But that's something which being discomfort in a discomfort situation is also a funnel in your growth. So you have to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Taking that opportunity to try new things and step out of your comfort zone is so important.
100%. If it was not that, people would not grow ever. You have to come out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yeah. And not let fear stop you from trying new things.
Trying new things. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Go into salsa class.
Yeah, I would go. I would soon. Maybe next month.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you'll have to update us. Let us know.
For sure.
For sure.
I'll surely share that story with
Yeah.
the first class story.
Yeah. Next time you come.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about your salsa dancing.
I'll share my video.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you. And we've had quite the conversation. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention or touch on, whether it's advice or lessons or any comments at all?
I think for all the young bosses out there, I would say that being vulnerable is your power. It's your superpower. Never be shy to share that. I was never an emotional person, and I think I have become one. And I was in many cultures, like they say, men never cry, and I do cry. I do have that thing in me as well. So it's like being vulnerable is one of the biggest power anyone can have, and show that, because people are ready to help you, but only if you ask for that.
Yeah.
Right. So just that, and tons of other advice which I've given earlier as well, but this is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
It's very important for me.
Yeah, I agree. Being vulnerable is so important.
And it's hard being vulnerable in front of everyone,
It
or
is.
at least few people.
Yeah.
But it comes with a great sense of power when you are vulnerable. You get so much help.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
When people are open enough to just share and to let go of those walls and just be there with you and allow them to listen to your story.
Right.
And to truly hear you. And then it also comes with a sense of you feeling heard, which is also so important. Like everybody wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be seen, right?
Right.
But so many people go around the world with these walls up and they just don't share who they really are, right? When it just fascinates me.
Absolutely. I've met so many people who are a different person in reality. And then when it's all about having that genuine conversation. It helps if you make someone feel comfortable in the first few conversations. They will be vulnerable in front of you, and they should be.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and for dedicating your time and for looking so fantastic. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to speak with you. I think it was very conversational based, which I like. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you to all of our listeners of our Young Bosses podcast. I hope you go forth and live life like you own it.